Hi friends, welcome to Old is Gold Wisdom. Today, I want to talk about something many of us experience over time, how we slowly shift from being sociable to preferring solitude. These two, sociability and solitude, may seem opposite, but they actually are not. In our younger years, we enjoy being around people because we are still new to the ways of life and relationships. So we want to explore and connect dots. But once we reach middle or older age, we begin to distance ourselves from strangers and avoid social gathering. Why? Because we have already been through enough and seen things clearly. When we are young, we like to invite friends over to eat and chat at home. One reason is that at home, we feel more relaxed and free to speak. Another reason is that it brings us closer to those we care about. We visit their homes, they visit ours. And with time, those bonds grow deeper. Back then, we believed true friendship was something rare and beautiful. But nowadays, sincerity is harder to find. As hypocrisy becomes more common, even those with genuine hearts start to change. There's an old saying, "He who stays near red becomes red, and he who stays near ink becomes black." In such an environment, people naturally begin to see friendship in a different light, that we stop inviting people into our homes. We expect less from others. Relationships begin to feel hollow, because deep down, many are not real. Take old Lee, for example, now 50 years old. He enjoys his quiet time alone. When he feels like staying home, he does. When he wants to go for a walk, he goes, even if friends visit. He prefers to meet at a restaurant rather than bring them home. One of his relatives asked, "You used to be so warm. Why have you become distant?" Lee answered, "At different ages, our way of living changes. Especially in old age. After seeing so much, we think differently." Now, he enjoys peace drinking tea, gardening, raising fish either by himself or with close family. He has slowly moved away from social gatherings. His friendships are not what they used to be. Those who frequently come and go are often not genuine friends. Instead of being politely fake, he prefers to be truly free, even if that means being alone. This is the reality for many elderly people. They find their own rhythm and settle into their routines. Most also avoid visiting other people's homes. Why? Because with age, things are not as easy or comfortable. Going to someone else's house can feel awkward or even troublesome. So in old age, people often visit less. Here are some of the main reasons why. First, visiting can feel like an interruption. Every family has its own way of living. And in old age, one person cannot speak for the whole family. Maybe your friend invites you over just to be polite. You may feel happy going there, but the rest of their family may not feel the same. They may even see your visit as an inconvenience. My neighbor once told me, "I act without thinking too much." He shared a story about how he once bumped into a high school classmate in the neighborhood only to realize they had been living in the same community all along. In his 60s, Uncle Ma happened to meet an old friend from his youth. Naturally, he felt very happy. The classmate invited Uncle Ma over for a meal and a couple of drinks. Uncle Ma enjoys drinking, but he lacks drinking companions. So he was especially glad to have someone to share drinks with. On weekends, he started bringing a few dishes to his friend's house. However, every time he arrived, his classmate's wife seemed uncomfortable. Uncle Ma did not think much of it. He just drank and left. In the following days, he continued to visit for drinks every few days. But after several visits, his classmate finally said, "You keep coming every weekend. My wife and children are not happy. They feel their routine is being disrupted." Uncle Ma then understood that the first invitation had only been a polite gesture. He had taken it seriously, assuming he was truly welcome. Frequent visits, especially in old age, can create problems. The biggest fear in old age is boredom. Having someone to talk to feels good. So many elderly people visit neighbors, often just to pass the time. While such days might seem full, frequent gatherings may not always be a good idea. The more people gather, the more they talk. And sometimes, someone might say something inappropriate. This can lead to arguments or misunderstandings. Miss Wong, who lives upstairs, says she prefers staying at home watching TV dramas rather than visiting others. She once had a conflict with her daughter-in-law because of these visits. Her son scolded her harshly. Miss Wong is a cheerful person. After retiring, she often danced in the square with other women from the neighborhood. On rainy days, they would visit each other's homes, chatting and eating together. Once, while visiting Aunt Le's house, someone started a discussion about relationships with daughters-in-law. That Miss Wong casually shared how her own daughter-in-law lacked initiative at home, and added that marrying an only child can be tricky since they are often spoiled. Though the comment was lighthearted, it somehow reached her daughter-in-law. It was twisted into something more serious. Her daughter-in-law believed Miss Wong looked down on her and thought she had married someone out of her league. Since they all lived together, this caused serious awkwardness. Miss Wong wanted to explain, but her daughter-in-law remained cold, and her son scolded her again for gossiping. That is when Miss Wong decided it was better to avoid visiting others' homes. Dancing together was fine, but better not to speak too much. Afterwards, she would go home direct. Getting too close leads to problems. Words can easily be misinterpreted. Economic differences can also create tension. Even in the same neighborhood, families live very different lives. Some are better off, others not so much. If everyone stays in their own home, nothing happens. But if families with large financial differences keep visiting each other, the richer side might act superior, which makes the less wealthy side feel uneasy. This builds a psychological divide. Even older people unconsciously compare. Everyone wishes they had more. Visiting can lead to jealousy and discomfort, and instead of joy, it creates stress. That is why it is better to live peacefully, avoid visiting too often, and avoid inviting too often. During holiday seasons, this becomes even more noticeable. In the past, people would visit for New Year greetings. Now, they prefer to stay home, sleep, or scroll through their phones. Have people lost interest in traditions, celebrations? Not really. Life has become too tiring, and there is little real connection left between people. Social visits and gatherings start to feel pointless. Unless life slows down and people find peace inside, this pace will only continue to speed up. That is why solitude is becoming the preferred way to live. Many now choose to be alone rather than deal with constant interaction. When we were younger, we misunderstood solitude. We thought it meant being lonely or without friends, and felt awkward about it. But now, we realize that living well on your own in a complicated world is actually a major success. The colder life becomes, the more warmth we want to give our families. Being distant from others is fine, but we must remain genuine with our loved ones. As we grow older, some contact with family and a few friends is natural, but it is best to avoid visiting their homes. If there is a need to meet, choose a place outside instead. That reduces the physical effort for the host and helps avoid unnecessary mental pressure. It becomes a win-win for everyone. There is no need to keep visiting others or to rush into preparing for guests, which can bring pressure to both body and family. In old age, welcoming guests at home can be exhausting and may create more problems than joy. That is why learning to be alone is important, especially in later years, when the people around us slowly begin to disappear. Being comfortable in solitude helps you deal with whatever lies ahead. That is all for today's thoughts. Thank you for watching. If you like the Buddha Zen channel, please remember to subscribe and share. Here, you will never feel alone. From old is gold wisdom.